once heard from the Mashgiach, Rabbi, he said a shmuz in Mir Yeshiva, and he said something very interesting. He said that really the reason why there's such a difficulty in Shmiras Einayim and topics connected to that is really for a reason not connected directly to issues of Kedusha, but rather a person has a constant need to look around. And the reason for that is that our sense of self, our sense of zich, our sense of existence is very dependent on being connected to the world around us. So when you tell a person to not look around, the person feels, so how do I exist? What gives me a sense of existence if not in the connection to the world around us? And the real challenge of Shmiras Einayim is the ability to have an internal world that doesn't require a connection to the outside, doesn't require a dependency, doesn't require a crutch, that in order for a person to feel that they're alive, to feel that they exist, they have to look around, they have to connect with something outside of them. And a person has an inner world which they're at peace with, whether it's an inner world they can think about Chachma, Musar, Torah. They have a world that's not critical to constantly look around. And the difficulty, he said, in a person be able to control himself is not even rooted so much in a question of Kedusha, but rather it's rooted in the constant need to be connected to something outside of us. Rabbi Yerucham the Mashgiach of Mir spoke about this by Yaakov Avinu, Vayivaser Yaakov Levadoi. The midah of Yaakov Avinu, which is the midah of emes, is the midah of Levadoi. Levadoi means, like Chazal say, V'nizkav Hashem Levadoi. The emes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says the Rambam, is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not dependent on anything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's existence is not totally in anything. Yaakov Avinu, with his midah of emes, got to a level of Levadoi that his sense of zich, his mitzias, his reality, his chiyas, his life, wasn't dependent on anything. He was Levadoi. When a person gets to that stage where a person's sense of self is not dependent on what's going on around them, then a person has no need to be constantly connected to the world around them. A person has no need to know what's going on around them the whole time. A person has no need to respond to what's going on around them the whole time. A person has no need to look at what's going on the whole time. That's the koach of the vadoi. And we have the ability to do that from our office. Titin emes Yaakov. The test of whether a person is emes is does a person have a metzias and an existence and a chiyus when they're alone and they don't have what to connect to or depend to around them. This is probably the most powerful tool for Shmiras Einayim, that by a person developing an internal world that's at peace with oneself, that allows a person to detach from what's going on around them and to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu.